She disappeared 8 months ago and he let her go, believing it was mercy. When Seo Jun's motorcade cuts through rain-soaked Seoul traffic and his gaze locks onto a woman through a fogged bus window, the world stops. Lisa. The American wife who vanished. The woman he was told chose freedom over him, but the heavy curve of her belly tells a different story, one that shatters every lie he was fed. And the blood she's carrying changes everything. This is a story about the monsters we become when we love too hard, the ghosts we run from when we're too afraid to fight, and the truth that hunts us down even when we've buried ourselves alive. If you're ready for a mafia romance that will grip you by the throat and refuse to let go, hit subscribe and let's begin. Don't forget to leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. I thank you for your immense support. The rain hammered the streets of Seoul like bullets on metal. Inside the city bus, Lisa pressed her forehead against the cool glass, watching the neon signs blur into watercolor streaks. Her cardigan, 3 sizes too big, bought from a discount bin, hung off her shoulders like borrowed skin. Beneath it, her hands cradled the swell of her belly, a gesture that had become reflex, protection, prayer, proof that she was still here, still breathing, still hidden. For 8 months, she'd been a ghost. No social media, no credit cards, no name that anyone from her old life would recognize. Just another tired woman on the 472 bus route, heading to her night shift at a warehouse where no one asked questions. She told herself she was safe. She told herself he'd stopped looking. She told herself the baby would be born free. Then the black SUVs appeared. At first it was just 1, then 3, then 5, sleek predators weaving through traffic with the precision of a military convoy. The bus driver cursed under his breath as the vehicles boxed them in, forcing the bus to a crawl, then a shuddering stop in the middle of the intersection. Passengers looked up from their phones. A woman 2 rows back whispered, "Is that?" Lisa's blood turned to ice, because through the rain, through the chaos of honking horns and flashing hazard lights, she saw him, Seo Jun. He stepped out of the lead vehicle like a king stepping onto a battlefield, charcoal suit tailored to perfection, white shirt pristine despite the downpour, every line of his body radiating controlled fury. His hair was slicked back, his jaw set, his eyes scanning the bus windows with the focus of a sniper finding his mark. And then he saw her. His entire body went rigid. For a moment, the world held its breath. The rain, the traffic, the horrified passengers. Everything froze as Seo Jun's gaze locked onto the woman in the worn blue maternity top, the woman with terror written across her face, the woman whose hands were wrapped protectively around a stomach that shouldn't exist. His lips moved. One word, silent through the glass. Lisa. Then his arm shot out, finger pointed directly at her like a verdict, and his voice, cold, sharp, absolute, cut through the rain as he turned to his men. "Bring that bus to a stop! Get her out! Now!" The passengers erupted into chaos. Phones came out. A man tried to shove past Lisa toward the back exit. The driver stammered into his radio, begging for police, for help, for anything. But Lisa couldn't move, because the man she'd spent 8 months running from, the man she'd been told was a monster, a dictator, a cold-blooded syndicate leader who saw her as nothing more than a political chess piece, was walking toward the bus with the look of someone who'd just found the only thing in the world that mattered, and she was carrying his heir. The door hissed open. Seo Jun stepped inside, and Lisa's nightmare came back to life. Lisa's hands went to the armrest, fingers gripping until her knuckles turned white. Around her, passengers pressed themselves against windows and seats, creating a corridor of empty space as Seo Jun moved down the aisle. His footsteps were measured, deliberate, each one echoing like a judge's gavel in the suffocating silence. When he reached her row, he stopped, just stood there, water dripping from his perfectly tailored suit onto the grimy bus floor, staring at her like he was looking at a ghost he'd spent 8 months trying to forget. Lisa. His voice was low, rough, like he'd been screaming her name into the void and had finally run out of breath. "You're alive." She didn't answer. Couldn't. Her throat had closed up, her lungs forgetting how to pull in air. His gaze dropped to her stomach, to the undeniable curve beneath her hands, to the life she'd been hiding. The color drained from his face. How far along? The question came out strangled, barely audible over the rain hammering the roof. Lisa's voice cracked when she finally spoke. 8 months. Something shattered behind his eyes. The mask of control, the carefully constructed armor of the syndicate leader. It all crumbled in the span of a heartbeat. And then Seo Jun, the man who commanded an empire built on fear and blood, the man who had never bowed to anyone in his life, dropped to his knees in the middle of a public bus. Gasps rippled through the passengers. Phones lifted. Cameras flashed. "Lisa!" His hands hovered near her knees, trembling, like he was afraid touching her would make her disappear again. "That's my blood in there, isn't it?" She couldn't look at him. Couldn't bear the rawness in his voice, the desperation that made him sound almost human. "Please," the word broke on his lips. "Please tell me." A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. "Yes." His head dropped forward, forehead nearly touching her knees, and for a terrible, beautiful moment, he looked like a man receiving salvation and damnation in the same breath. "You're coming with me," he said, his voice steadier now, but still edged with something dangerous. "Both of you. I'm not asking." "Seo Jun?" "No." He stood, and the command in his posture snapped back into place like a blade sliding into its sheath. "You don't get to run again. Not with my child. Not when you're—" His eyes traced the hollows of her cheeks, the dark circles under her eyes, the way her cardigan hung loose over her frame despite the pregnancy. "Oh, Christ, Lisa, what have you been doing to yourself?" "Surviving," she whispered. "Surviving." He repeated the word like it was a curse. "You've been living in hell while carrying my heir, and you call that surviving?" He turned to his men waiting at the front of the bus. "Get a car to the door, now." Then back to Lisa, softer but no less absolute. "Can you walk?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. "Then walk with me, or I'll carry you. Your choice." The passengers watched in stunned silence as Lisa stood on shaking legs. Seo Jun's hand went to her elbow, not rough, not forceful, but steady, grounding, like he was terrified she might collapse. They walked down the aisle together, a syndicate boss and his runaway wife, and nobody dared say a word. The driver had his hands up like he was being held at gunpoint. The woman who'd been recording had lowered her phone, eyes wide with something between fear and fascination. Outside, the rain had intensified. One of Seo Jun's men stood holding an umbrella, another had opened the door to a black sedan. Lisa hesitated at the bus steps, looking back one last time at the ordinary world she'd been clinging to. "Lisa," Seo Jun's voice was gentler now. "I've got you." And somehow that was what terrified her most. The sedan's interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Lisa sank into the seat, her body suddenly remembering how exhausted it was, how many double shifts she'd worked, how many nights she'd spent on a mattress that was more springs than padding, her back screaming, her feet swollen. Seo Jun slid in beside her, and the door closed with a heavy, final thunk. The motorcade pulled away from the bus, leaving chaos in its wake. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the rain against the windows and the whisper of tires on wet pavement. "You look terrible," Seo Jun said finally, and there was no cruelty in it, just observation, just devastation. "Thanks," Lisa muttered, staring out the window as the city blurred past. "I didn't mean—" He stopped himself, jaw clenching. "When did you last eat?" "This morning." "What did you eat?" "Instant noodles." His hand curled into a fist against his thigh. "Instant noodles. You're 8 months pregnant with my child, and you're eating instant noodles." "I'm sorry I wasn't dining on imported steak in whatever gilded cage you had planned for me," she shot back, and immediately regretted it when she saw his face. "Gilded cage," he repeated, eyed voice flat. "Is that what you thought? Is that why you ran?" Lisa turned away, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. "I heard the conversation, Seo Jun, with your mother, about how marrying me was strategic, about how I was useful for the American connections. I heard all of it." "You heard half of it," he said quietly, and believed the worst. "What was I supposed to believe? That the man who could barely look at me some days actually—" She cut herself off, hand going to her belly as the baby kicked, hard. Seo-jun's eyes tracked the movement. Actually what? It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me. But Lisa had already shut down, folding into herself the way she'd learned to do over these long, lonely months, protecting herself, protecting the baby, protecting what was left of her heart. The estate materialized out of the rain like a fortress from another world. High walls, security gates that opened silently at their approach, manicured gardens drowning in the downpour. Lisa had forgotten how intimidating it was, how much it felt like a prison dressed up as paradise. The car stopped under a covered portico. Seo-jun was out before the driver could open the door, coming around to Lisa's side with an umbrella already raised. "I can walk," she said when he offered his hand. "I know you can, but you don't have to." She ignored the hand and climbed out on her own, her pride the only thing she had left. But the moment her feet hit the marble steps, exhaustion slammed into her like a physical force. Her knees buckled. Seo-jun caught her before she hit the ground, one arm around her waist, the other under her knees, lifting her like she weighed nothing. "Put me down," Lisa protested weakly. "No." He carried her through the entrance, past staff members who appeared and disappeared like ghosts, their faces carefully neutral. Past the grand staircase and the sitting room where she'd once tried to learn Korean from a tutor who spoke too fast. Past all the memories of a life that felt like someone else's dream. He took her to the East Wing, to a suite of rooms she didn't recognize. "This isn't—" "Your old room is being prepared," Seo-jun said, setting her down gently on a bed that felt like clouds after months of that terrible mattress. "This is closer to mine, closer to the medical wing, closer to everything you might need." "Closer to you, you mean?" "Yes." He didn't apologize for it. "I'm not letting you out of my sight until I know you and the baby are safe. I'm not your prisoner." "No," he agreed, pulling a chair close to the bed and sitting down like he planned to stay there forever. "You're my wife, and that's my child, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure neither of you disappear again." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, typed something quickly, then looked back at her. "Dr. Min will be here in 20 minutes. You're going to let him examine you. You're going to eat a proper meal. You're going to rest. And then, when you're strong enough, you're going to tell me everything." "Or what?" "Or nothing, Lisa. There's no or what. I'm not threatening you, I'm begging you." His voice dropped, and for the first time she heard it. The fear, the desperation, the love he'd never known how to show. "Please. Just let me take care of you. Let me fix this." Before she could answer, a knock sounded at the door. A young woman entered carrying a tray laden with food, soup, rice, grilled fish, fruit, tea. The smell alone made Lisa's stomach clench with hunger. "Thank you, Jiwoo," Seo-jun said, and the woman bowed and left. He picked up the soup bowl and a spoon, holding it out to Lisa. She stared at him. "I can feed myself." "I know, but I need to do this. I need to—" He stopped, looking down at the soup like it held answers. "I need to know you're real, that you're here, that I'm not dreaming this." So Lisa took the spoon, and ate, and let him watch her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Dr. Min arrived exactly 20 minutes later, a slight man in his 60s with kind eyes and steady hands. Miss Seo-jun stayed in the room while the doctor examined Lisa, standing by the window with his back turned to give her privacy but refusing to leave. The examination was thorough, uncomfortable, and when Dr. Min finally stepped back, his expression was grave. "How bad?" Seo-jun asked without turning around. "She has severe preeclampsia," Dr. Min said quietly. "Her blood pressure is dangerously high. There's protein in her urine, swelling in her extremities. If this had gone untreated much longer—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Lisa felt the room tilt. "And the baby?" Seo-jun's voice was barely above a whisper. "The baby is showing signs of growth restriction, likely due to malnutrition and stress. But the heartbeat is strong. If we can stabilize Lisa's condition, if we can get her proper nutrition and bed rest, there's a good chance." "A good chance isn't good enough. It's the best I can offer right now." Dr. Min placed a hand on Lisa's shoulder. "You need complete bed rest, medication to bring down your blood pressure, a diet rich in protein and nutrients, monitoring around the clock, and absolutely no stress. "I'll make sure of it," Seo-jun said, finally turning from the window. His face was pale, jaw set. "Whatever she needs, whatever it costs, I don't care." Dr. Min nodded and began packing his medical bag. "I'll have the medications sent up within the hour. I'll check on her again tomorrow morning. But Mr. Kang—" He paused. "This is serious, very serious. The next few weeks will determine whether both mother and baby survive." The words hung in the air long after Dr. Min left. Lisa couldn't look at Seo-jun, couldn't bear to see whatever expression was on his face. "You almost died," he said finally, voice hollow. "You almost died, and I didn't even know you were alive." "I didn't know it was this bad," Lisa whispered. "I thought I was just tired, just stressed. I thought—" "You thought you could handle it alone." Seo-jun crossed the room in 3 strides and knelt beside the bed, taking her hand in both of his. "You thought you had to handle it alone because I made you feel like you couldn't trust me, like you couldn't come to me, like you were just a political asset and not the only thing that mattered." Tears spilled down Lisa's cheeks. Don't say things you don't mean." "I have never," he said fiercely, "said anything I didn't mean. I'm just terrible at saying them. I'm terrible at showing you. I'm terrible at everything except building walls and keeping people out, and I did that to you when I should have been letting you in." "Seo-jun, rest," he said, standing abruptly and wiping his eyes before she could see if they were wet. "I'll be right outside if you need anything." "You don't have to." "Yes," he said quietly, "I do." And he left her alone with her thoughts and the baby moving inside her, and the terrifying realization that maybe she'd run from the one person who would have protected her from everything. Lisa woke to voices outside her door. It took her a moment to remember where she was. The estate, Seo-jun's fortress, the place she'd sworn she'd never return to. The medication Dr. Min had sent was working. Her head felt clearer. The swelling in her hands had gone down slightly, but her heart, that was still a mess. The door opened, and a woman swept in like she owned the place. Seo-jun's cousin. Tall, elegant, beautiful in a way that made Lisa feel like a rumpled bedsheet in comparison. "Lisa," Seo said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I heard you were back. I had to come see for myself." "Seo." Lisa struggled to sit up, and Seo rushed forward to help with practiced efficiency. "Don't strain yourself. I heard about the diagnosis. How awful." She settled into the chair Seo-jun had occupied earlier, crossing her legs primly. "I'm so sorry you've been going through all this alone." "I'm managing." "Are you?" Seo tilted her head, studying Lisa like a cat studies a mouse. "Because from what I hear, you nearly killed yourself and the baby running away from my cousin." Lisa's jaw tightened. "I had my reasons." "Oh, I know you did. Everyone knows you did." Seo leaned forward conspiratorially. "You know how Seo-jun is. All business, all control. I'm sure he made you feel like you were just another acquisition, another piece on his chessboard." "He's not." "Of course he is, darling. That's who he is. That's who our family raised him to be." Seo's voice was honey-sweet. "But now you're back, and you're carrying his heir, so of course he's going to protect that. The family needs an heir. The syndicate needs continuity. That's all that matters to him." "That's not true, isn't it?" Seo stood, smoothing her designer dress. "I'm just saying, don't confuse his interest in the baby with interest in you. Once you give birth, once he has what he needs, well, you're an American. You don't belong in our world. You never did." Lisa felt something cold settle in her chest. The same doubt, the same fear, the same poison that had driven her away 8 months ago. "I should go," Seo said brightly. "I just wanted to check on you. Family, after all." She paused at the door. "Oh, and Lisa, if you're smart, you'll leave while you still can. After the baby is born, of course. Seo-jun will give you anything you want. Money, a house, freedom. All you have to do is give him the child and go." And she was gone, leaving Lisa alone with the doubts that had just been watered and fed like weeds in a garden. 3 days later, Seo-jun stood in Lisa's old apartment on the other side of the city. The place she'd fled to. The cramped studio with water-stained walls and a kitchenette barely big enough to turn around in. His security team had swept the place, Standard procedure when investigating where Lisa had been living. What they'd found made his blood run cold. "Here," his head of security, Jun-ho, said, pointing to a tiny device behind the wall socket. "And here." Another behind the smoke detector. "And here." One more in the light fixture. 5 listening devices. Professional grade. Not cheap. Not the kind of thing you picked up at an electronics store. "How long have they been here?" Seo-jun asked, voice dangerously quiet. "Based on the models, I'd say they were installed about 9 months ago, right around the time Mrs. Kang first moved in." 9 months ago. Right after she'd run. Right when she'd been most vulnerable. "Can you trace them?" Jun-ho handed him a tablet. "Already did. The signal routes through several proxies, but we managed to backtrack to the source." Seo-jun looked at the screen. Saw the address. Felt his entire world shift on its axis. The devices had been reporting to an apartment registered under a shell company. A shell company he recognized because he'd helped set it up. For family. For his cousin. For Seowa. "She's been listening this whole time," Seo-jun said slowly, pieces clicking into place. She knew where Lisa was. She knew about the pregnancy. She knew everything. "Sir, there's more." Jun-ho pulled up another file. "We found communication records. Seowa has been in contact with the Choi faction, the ones who've been trying to push you out. She's been feeding them information." "About what?" "About Mrs. Kang. About the pregnancy. About—" Jun-ho hesitated. "About your mother's illness. About the security vulnerabilities it created." Seo-jun's hands curled into fists. She wanted Lisa dead. It would appear so. If the Choi faction could eliminate Mrs. Kang in the air, they could destabilize your leadership, and Seowa would be positioned to take control of the family assets through her brother's claim. The room felt too small, too close. Seo-jun turned and punched the wall, putting his fist through the cheap drywall. "Sir!" "She manipulated Lisa into running," Seo-jun said through clenched teeth. "She made sure Lisa overheard that conversation with my mother. She planted the doubts, she fed the fears, and then she tracked her, hunted her, tried to get her killed." "What do you want us to do?" Seo-jun pulled out his phone and made a call. It was answered on the first ring. "I need you to do something for me," he said quietly. "I need you to go to the estate. I need you to remove Seowa from the premises. I don't care how you do it. Or just get her away from Lisa." He hung up and looked around the apartment one more time, at the place Lisa had been living, suffering, trying to survive while carrying his child and believing she was alone. "Burn it," he said. "Burn all the evidence. I'll deal with Seowa personally." "And the Choi faction?" Seo-jun's smile was cold. "Let them come. Let them try. They wanted a war. They're about to get one." Because nobody, not his cousin, not a rival syndicate, not God himself, was going to touch his wife and child again. Seo-jun returned to the estate near midnight. The rain had finally stopped, leaving the city washed clean and glistening under streetlights. He went straight to Lisa's room, but she was sleeping, curled on her side with one hand resting on her belly. Dr. Min's nurse sat in the corner, monitoring her vitals on a tablet. "How is she?" Seo-jun asked quietly. "Blood pressure is coming down, slowly. The medication is working." The nurse glanced at Lisa. "She asked about you earlier, wanted to know where you'd gone." Something in his chest tightened. "What did you tell her?" "That you had business to attend to." She didn't seem surprised. Of course she didn't, because Lisa expected him to choose business over her, expected him to put the empire before the person. That's what Seowa had been counting on. That's what had driven Lisa away in the first place. "I'll be on the balcony if she wakes," Seo-jun said. "Call me immediately if anything changes." The nurse nodded, and he slipped out into the hallway, past his own room, to the balcony that overlooked the gardens. The sky had cleared, revealing stars that rarely showed themselves over Seoul. He lit a cigarette, a habit he'd quit years ago but had picked up again the day Lisa disappeared, and let the smoke curl into the night air. "You're going to smell like an ashtray." He turned to find Lisa in the doorway, wrapped in a robe that was too big for her, feet bare against the cold stone. "You should be in bed," he said, crushing the cigarette under his heel. "I've been in bed for 3 days. I'm going stir-crazy." She moved carefully to the railing, keeping space between them. "Where did you go?" "Your old apartment." He watched her stiffen. "Why?" "My security team swept it. Standard procedure." He paused. "We found listening devices, Lisa. 5 of them. Professional grade. They'd been there since you moved in." The color drained from her face. Someone was listening the whole time? Seowa. The name tasted like poison. "She knew where you were. She knew about the pregnancy. She's been feeding information to our enemies, hoping they'd—" He couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't say the words out loud. "Hoping they'd kill me," Lisa finished quietly. "And the baby." "Yes." She wrapped her arms around herself, and Seo-jun wanted to close the distance between them, wanted to hold her, but he didn't know if he still had that right. "The conversation you overheard," he said instead, "with my mother, about the marriage being strategic. Seowa made sure you heard that. She orchestrated the whole thing. But you did say those things, about the American connections, about me being useful." "I did." He wouldn't lie to her. Not now, not ever again. "Because that's what I told myself it was. That's what I told my mother when she was dying and wanted to know I'd be protected, that I'd have allies, that I wouldn't be alone." "Your mother was dying?" Seo-jun's jaw clenched. "Stage 4 cancer. 6 months, maybe less, that's what the doctors said. She made it 8 before—" He stopped, looking up at the stars. "She wanted to know I'd be taken care of, that I wouldn't drown in this life alone, so I told her the marriage was strategic, because admitting the truth, that I'd fallen in love with an American woman who made me feel human for the first time in my life, felt too vulnerable, too dangerous." Lisa's breath caught. "Seo-jun, I never told you about her illness because I thought I was protecting you. Thought if you didn't know, you wouldn't worry. Wouldn't see how afraid I was of losing everyone I loved." He finally turned to look at her. "But all I did was push you away, made you think you didn't matter, that you were just another piece on the board." "I heard you say I was useful," she whispered, "that the marriage opened doors with American distributors, that it was good for business. It was all of those things. But it was never why I married you." He took a step closer. "I married you because when I was with you, I forgot what I was. I forgot the blood on my hands and the empire built on fear. I forgot everything except how you laughed at my terrible English and how you tried to learn Korean from dramas and how you looked at me like I was just a man, not a boss, not a weapon, just a man." Tears were streaming down her face now. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm an idiot who thought protecting you meant keeping you in the dark, who thought love was security cameras and locked doors and guards following you everywhere." His voice cracked. "I thought if I could control everything around you, you'd be safe. But all I did was build a cage, and you ran from it, from me." "I ran because I thought I was nothing to you," Lisa said, her voice breaking. "I thought I was just convenient, just useful, and when I found out I was pregnant, I couldn't bring a child into a world where I was just a transaction." "You were never just anything, Lisa. You were everything. You are everything." He closed the distance between them, hands hovering near her face but not touching, still afraid. "And I know I have no right to ask for another chance. I know I destroyed your trust, but I'm begging you, let me prove it. Let me show you that you and this baby are the only things that matter, that I'll burn down everything I've built if that's what it takes to keep you safe." She looked up at him, and he saw it. The doubt, the fear, the hope fighting to survive. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too. What if Seowa tries again? What if there are others like her? What if this world you live in—" "Then I'll leave it." The words came out before he'd even thought them through. "I'll walk away from all of it. The business, the family, the empire. I'll take you somewhere safe and raise our child and be whoever you need me to be." Lisa shook her head. "You can't just walk away. Watch me. Seo-jun, I'm serious, Lisa. I don't care about any of it if you're not there. I've spent 8 months without you and it nearly killed me. Every day I woke up not knowing if you were alive. Every night I went to sleep wondering if I'd ever see you again. And now you're here, and you're carrying my child, and I will do whatever it takes, to make sure you never feel like you have to run from me again." She reached up and touched his face, fingers trembling against his jaw. I don't want you to give up everything for me. You're not hearing me. You are everything. The rest is just noise. And then she was crying in earnest, and he was holding her, careful of her belly, careful of her fragile state, but holding her like he'd wanted to since the moment he'd seen her on that bus. I'm sorry, he murmured into her hair. I'm so sorry for all of it. I'm sorry I ran. You had every reason to. I should have talked to you, should have confronted you instead of just believing the worst. I gave you every reason to believe the worst. He pulled back just enough to look at her. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm better than that we're better than that. She nodded against his chest, and they stood there under the stars, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole. The contractions started 4 days later. Lisa woke at 3 a.m. to a pain that wrapped around her middle like a vice. At first, she thought it was just more Braxton Hicks, the false labor that had been plaguing her for weeks. But then her water broke, soaking through the sheets, and she knew. It was too early. She was only 33 weeks. The baby wasn't ready. Seo Jun! She tried to get out of bed, but another contraction hit, doubling her over. Seo Jun! He was there in seconds, still pulling on a shirt, eyes wild. What's wrong? What? He saw the sheets, saw her face. Oh God, is it? The baby's coming. He was on his phone before she'd finished the sentence, shouting orders in rapid-fire Korean. Dr. Minister, the medical team, get them here now. It's too early, Lisa gasped, gripping the bedpost as another wave of pain crashed through her. It's too early. The baby isn't. She'll be fine. You'll both be fine. Seo Jun was beside her, one arm around her waist, supporting her weight. I've got you. I'm right here. The medical team arrived in a chaos of equipment and urgent voices. They moved Lisa to the medical wing, a fully equipped facility that Seo Jun had apparently had installed when Lisa went missing, just in case. Just in case she came back pregnant. Just in case he ever got the chance to make things right. Dr. Min examined her quickly, his face grave. The baby is in distress. Heart rate is dropping. We need to do an emergency C-section. No, Lisa said, fear clawing at her throat. No, please, isn't there another way? There's no time. If we don't get the baby out now. Dr. Min didn't finish, but he didn't need to. Do it, Seo Jun said, his voice like iron. Whatever you have to do, save them both. They prepped her fast, too fast. Lisa's hands were shaking so hard she couldn't hold still for the IV. Seo Jun caught her fingers, lacing them through his. Look at me, he said. And there was nothing in his voice now except love and terror. Look at me, Lisa. You're going to be fine. She's going to be fine, I promise you. You can't promise that. I can and I am, because I'm not losing you. Not now, not after everything. He brought her hand to his lips. Fight for me, fight for her, fight for us. The anesthesiologist administered the epidural. The room blurred at the edges. Lisa felt them cutting but couldn't feel pain, just pressure, and the overwhelming sense that everything was happening too fast, spinning out of control. Blood pressure is dropping, someone said. I need more suction here. Baby's heart rate is 50, 55. Seo Jun's hand tightened around hers. Stay with me, Lisa. Please, stay with me. I'm trying, she whispered, but the room was going dark and she was so tired, and maybe it would be easier to just let go. No, Seo Jun's voice cut through the fog. You don't get to leave me. You hear me? You don't get to leave. I need you. She needs you. We both need you, so you fight, Lisa. You fight like hell. And maybe it was his voice. Maybe it was the medication finally working. Maybe it was just sheer stubborn will. But Lisa clawed her way back from the edge, forcing her eyes to focus, forcing her lungs to pull in air. Baby's out, Dr. Min announced. It's a girl. For a terrible moment, there was silence. No crying, no sound at all. Then a tiny, furious wail, the most beautiful sound Lisa had ever heard. She's breathing on her own, Dr. Min said, sounding amazed. Small but strong, very strong. They brought the baby over, wrapped in blankets. This impossibly tiny creature with a shock of dark hair and her father's eyes. Lisa couldn't stop crying as they placed her on her chest, couldn't stop staring at this miracle they'd made. "Hi, baby," she whispered. "Hi, Siwoo." Seo-jun was crying too, tears streaming down his face as he touched their daughter's impossibly small hand. She's perfect, Lisa. You're both perfect." "Siwoo," Lisa repeated. "Beautiful smile, because that's what she'll bring to this world." "Beautiful smile," Seo-jun echoed, and kissed his daughter's forehead, then Lisa's. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for staying." "Where else would I go?" Lisa said through tears. "This is my family." And for the first time in 8 months, she meant it. Seowa was gone within 24 hours. Just gone. Her apartment cleared out. Her access to the family accounts severed. Her name scrubbed from every business document and family record. "What did you do?" Lisa asked when she was strong enough to talk, Sai-woo sleeping in a bassinet beside her hospital bed. Seo-jun, who hadn't left their side except to handle Seowa, looked up from where he'd been watching their daughter breathe. "I gave her a choice. Leave Seoul quietly, start over somewhere else with enough money to be comfortable, or face consequences." "What kind of consequences?" His jaw tightened. "The kind that would have ended with her in the Han River. But I chose mercy. For you, because you make me better than I am." Lisa should have been horrified, should have recoiled from the casual mention of violence, but she'd spent too long in this world now, understood its rules. I understood what Seowa's betrayal could have cost them. "The Choi faction?" she asked instead. "Being dealt with, quietly, permanently." He met her eyes. "I told you I'd burn it all down to keep you safe. I meant it. I don't want you to become a monster for me." "I've always been a monster, Lisa. You just made me want to be a man instead." He reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "But some things require the monster. Protecting my family is one of them." "What about the business, the empire?" "It's being restructured. I'm stepping back from the violent side, diversifying into legitimate ventures. It'll take time, but..." He paused, looking at Siwoo. "I want her to be proud of her father, not afraid of him." "She'll be proud," Lisa said softly, "because you're choosing to change. That takes more courage than anything." "I'm choosing you, both of you. Everything else is just logistics." The therapist arrived 3 weeks later. Alice Lawrence, an American woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Seo-jun had balked at the idea of therapy at first, until Lisa pointed out that if they were going to make this work, they needed help. Professional help. Not just love and good intentions. Their first session was brutal. "Let me get this straight," Alice said, looking between them. "You installed cameras in her living spaces without her knowledge. You assigned guards to follow her. You made unilateral decisions about her safety and freedom." "I was protecting her," Seo-jun said defensively. "You were controlling her. There's a difference." Alice turned to Lisa. "And you? Instead of confronting him about behavior that made you uncomfortable, internalized it, told yourself you were being unreasonable, then ran the moment you had an excuse." "I thought he didn't love me," Lisa said quietly. "Did you ask?" "No." "Why not?" "Because..." Lisa stopped, realizing how it sounded. "Because I was afraid of the answer." "So you created a narrative in your head, assumed it was true, and acted on it without verification." Alice leaned back. "You both have a communication problem, and a trust problem, and a pattern of avoiding difficult conversations by either controlling the situation or running from it." "That's not..." Seo-jun started. "Isn't it? You couldn't tell her about your mother's illness because you thought you were protecting her. She couldn't tell you she was pregnant because she thought you didn't care. Both of you operating on assumptions instead of facts. Both of you so afraid of vulnerability that you'd rather destroy your relationship than have an honest conversation." The words hit like physical blows. Lisa looked at Seo-jun and saw her own shame reflected back. "So what do we do?" Seo-jun asked finally. "You learn to talk, really talk, without the guards, without the walls, without the defenses you've both spent years building." Alice pulled out a notebook. "We're going to start with boundaries. Lisa, what do you need from Seo-jun to feel safe?" "I need..." Lisa took a breath. "I need to feel like I have a choice. Like I can leave the estate without an escort if I want. Like I can make decisions about my own life without having to get permission." "That's fair," Seo-jun? His jaw clenched. What if something happens to her? What if... You can't control everything, Alice said gently. That's the lesson you need to learn. Control is the illusion you're hiding behind to avoid dealing with your fear of loss. I've already lost people, Seo-jun said, voice rough. My parents. People I cared about. I won't lose her too. So you'll suffocate her instead? Cage her? Make her so miserable that she leaves anyway? Alice leaned forward. Love isn't about control. It's about trust. Can you trust Lisa to make good decisions? Can you trust her to ask for help when she needs it? I don't know, he admitted, and Lisa could see how much it cost him to say it. Then that's what we work on, Alice said. Trust, communication, letting go of control. It won't be easy, but if you want this relationship to work, if you want to build a healthy family for your daughter, you both need to do the work. They did the work, week after week, session after session, learning to say I feel instead of you always, learning to ask for what they needed instead of expecting the other person to just know. Learning that love without trust was just possession dressed up in pretty words. It was hard. Sometimes Lisa wanted to give up. Sometimes Seo-jun slipped back into old patterns, ordering guards to follow her before catching himself and apologizing. Sometimes they fought so badly that Alice had to intervene, but slowly, painfully, they got better. 3 months after Siwoo was born, Seo-jun came to Lisa with a small package. They were in the nursery, watching their daughter sleep, marveling at how much she'd grown. I have something for you, he said quietly. Lisa took the package and unwrapped it. And inside was a passport, American in her name, and a single key. The passport is in case you ever want to leave, Seo-jun said. No restrictions, no conditions. It's yours. And the key? It's to a house in California, near the beach. I bought it 3 months ago. He met her eyes. If you want to go, if you want to take Siwoo and start over somewhere safe, somewhere away from all of this, I'll let you go. I'll send money every month. I'll never bother you. I'll love you from a distance and know you're safe. Lisa stared at him, at this man who was offering her freedom even though it would destroy him. You'd really let me go? I love you enough to let you choose, even if you don't choose me. She turned the key over in her hand. Imagined that life. California, the beach, raising Siwoo in sunshine instead of shadows. It would be easier, simpler, safer, but it wouldn't be theirs. I appreciate this, she said finally. I appreciate that you trust me enough to give me this option. But I'm not going anywhere. She set the key and passport on the dresser and took his hand. I choose you. I choose us. I choose the life we're building together, messy and complicated as it is. Lisa, I'm not saying it's perfect. We still have work to do. We probably always will, but I'm not running anymore. And you're not controlling anymore. We're partners now, real partners, and that's what I want. Seo-jun pulled her close, careful not to wake Siwoo, and held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she agreed with a small smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. I can live with that. They stood there in the nursery, their daughter sleeping peacefully, the key and passport sitting on the dresser like a promise kept. Lisa had chosen to stay, not because she was trapped, not because she had nowhere else to go, but because this man, this child, this complicated, beautiful mess of a life was exactly where she wanted to be. And that made all the difference.